Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at United Health. It is time for another update and we seem to continue the downtrend that we have started last week, and we will discuss about where we can look for support in a moment, but quickly I want to go through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we are still tracking this idea of a double 1-2-1-2 setup that has formed over the larger time frame, then this as the third wave up, and now we are tracking an internal wave 4 within the larger wave 3 that we expect, or within which we expect to find support in the area between the $260 level all the way down to the $96 level. Now, as long as we hold here the 50% retracement, we can still look with high likelihood for continuation to the upside, a reversal to the upside in a follow-up wave 5, within which we are looking to reach new all-time highs. Now, internally within this wave 4, if you have been watching this channel and if you have been tracking this chart on this channel, you would know we have been looking for this idea of a larger ABC structure to still unfold, where we are still looking for an additional low, ideally within this wave 4 in green. That is mainly due to the structure that has been formed within the initial movement down, the wave A that we have been tracking in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 structure, which suggests that after a 3-wave correction to the upside, it is likely that we find resistance and form an additional 5-wave structure to the downside. And we do expect this to occur with high likelihood, especially as long as we stay below the area of support between the $342 level all the way up to the $510 level. Now, so far we have pushed nearly into the 50% retracement and we got rejected. We seem to have started at least an internal correction. I am saying internal correction because this wave B is allowed to extend. There is technically no confirmation at this point that we have in fact topped within this wave B. And in the previous video, we have been looking for possibilities to extend further higher within this blue scenario. Now, clearly, since we broke the support zone that I have provided you previously, we can no longer really track this interpretation, and it is most likely that if we aren't already within the large wave C in white towards the completion of this wave 4 in green, we are at least within a larger correction here in the yellow scenario, which that is most likely. Now, within this yellow scenario, we have been tracking it as a possible ABC structure, and this is a valid count, but I do want to point out it is also possible for me to track this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 5-wave structure, which means, as it does on the larger time frame, that with high likelihood we are looking after a 3-wave correction for a follow-up 5-wave structure to the upside. Now, keep in mind this is a wave B. It could end up unfolding in many different ways, including triangles, which aren't necessarily 3-wave corrections. Those aren't necessarily the most likely, the most frequent pattern, but they do occur. And in that case, I would still like to track possible continuation to the upside here within the yellow scenario, where I am considering a possible leading diagonal here in a wave A, and I'm looking for a correction, something possibly like this in an ABC within a wave B, to find support in the area between the $316.7 level all the way down to the $260.3 level for a reversal to the upside to new local highs within the wave C, within a zigzag pattern that would allow us to reset this wave B basically, and then look for the extension in a follow-up wave C. Now, with that said, I am still very much considering the possibility of having already formed a top within this correction in wave B, and in that case I would be looking for an ideal target at the 100% extension for an ideal target for the wave C at the 100% extension of the wave A, which is at the $142 level. But I do want to mention this correction in the wave B wasn't necessarily the longest either in time or in how deep it really pushed, so there is a good chance we may not necessarily get to that level, especially based on the larger structural support that we have in this area, between around this area at the $200+ level, just around here, all the way down to, especially at the 190, around this area, there is quite significant structural support, and we may find a bottom prematurely in that area within this correction here in the wave C in white, even if we push directly lower. Now, within this structure, I would still like to find additional highs. I would like to see a reset here within this wave B. It would make and allow the correction to have a nicer structure, a more clearly defined three-wave structure basically. But for now, I am looking still at this area of support in yellow before we are looking to even start a reversal, a possible reversal within the yellow interpretation. And yeah, keep in mind, if we end up forming something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there is going to be a resistance area once again that would likely be within a 1-2 setup in a bearish scenario for the wave C to the downside. For now, we only have a smaller internal possible 1, 2, 3 that may have completed to the downside, and we will be tracking that in a moment. But internally, within this structure, I am looking for a possible impulse within this initial wave A down. And in that case, I would be watching out mainly for resistance at this point in the area for wave 4 resistance, in the area between the $338 level all the way down, all the way up to the $351 level. If we manage to break above the 50% retracement here, it would be a pretty good indication that this push to the downside is done, at least in terms of an impulse. It could still work out within a diagonal structure, but we will get to that when it actually occurs. But at this point, there really isn't even a confirmation that this internal wave 3 has already bottomed. In fact, if we use the RSI, it is suggested to us that this should in fact still extend further down. Now, we do see one of the bigger corrections within this downtrend that has formed so far, so it may be towards the end of its life, but yeah, no clarity in those terms. But I'm not going to track internally too much this area because it is an extremely short time frame, and I would prefer to zoom out a little to track this larger correction. And for that, what else could we really use? Well, I would consider a possible trend line to be tracking in this area for an indication that this internal wave 3 may have completed. And yeah, if we break above this trend line, and let's use a different color for it, maybe if we break above this trend line, it would actually be a pretty good indication that we should consider that this wave 4 may have started and we may be heading towards the larger resistance area. Although keep in mind, even if we don't need to necessarily get to it, because this third wave, this internal wave 3 may not be done, and this resistance area is accounting for this entire push to the downside. Whereas if I'm looking for something like a continuation in a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th, and then another 4, 5, I would need a much closer area of resistance for an internal wave 4 correction in a 3, 4, between the $330 level all the way up to the $334 level instead. And yeah, even in that case, we seem to have actually reached the 38.2% retracement and already got rejected. So yeah, it is likely at this point that we could still expect further downside before we head into the larger resistance area. But then, once this pattern is complete, once this internal wave 3 is complete, we are looking for this correction in a wave 4, and if we manage to find resistance and form an additional 5th wave to the downside, we then have a larger 5-wave structure down, which actually isn't necessarily bad because it would make the tracking of this pattern to the downside easier, because once we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, we can look with a pretty good likelihood for an A, B, C, something like that, and then for an additional 5-wave pattern to the downside in a wave C, where we could be able to track quite accurately a possible bottom here within at least the yellow interpretation. Now, we will need to be careful in terms of the white scenario not triggering the large wave C directly, but for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.